Hello. During the first day of the Asheville workshop last year, you talked about vibrational,
escrow?
No, it was a very special word you used for the first time. Vortex ingredients producers, and I use it as a word VIP. And the term really helped me the last couple of months to acknowledge when something happened for me as a contrast, to see the person who was involved, to see as a very important person. That helped me to improve my vortex.
Yes.
It was a great word you used.
Yes, yes. And also, in light of what we've been talking about here today, it's the incompletion of that which I am and the making peace with that.
Oh.
And the appreciation. In other words, you can stand in an incomplete or even a formerly stuck feeling place, feeling appreciation for the expansion that you know is there, and dissolve all resistance in the moment. Yes.
My question is about, we talked earlier before the break about the intentionality before we come into the physical. And I want to know, how is the intentionality regarding to relationships?
Well, often our physical friends will say, I'm sure I did not have that much say or intention in who I was being born to, because I would not have chosen these parents or this environment or this place. Because sometimes from a physical perspective, you think you are looking for completion or ease, when what you are looking for really is contrast and potential expansion. So that's the first thing that we always want to clarify when we are talking about what you intended when you decided to come. You were not looking for ease because you didn't believe that there was anything that was difficult about creation. You were actually looking for choices. You were looking for a vibrational basis, a really springy launching pad, so to speak. So your intentions were, in every case, of wanting a situation that would be a strong catalyst for the expansion, because you knew that the joy of life would be to then find alignment with that expansion. In other words, when you think about perpetual motion, which humans have a hard time replicating, but when you think about what perpetual motion must be, we would like to say that, as we try to define it in your physical terms, that coming forth from non-physical, exploring and launching rockets, then getting up to speed with the rocket, and then flowing back into non-physical. In other words, this is this eternal process of never-ending expansion. And as soon as you get consciously, deliberately in sync with the never-endedness of the creator that is you, then you start enjoying where you stand, no matter where it is. When you understand that the equation is ask, and that source then will align with it, and then you must allow. When you understand that when a problem is coming into focus, a solution is too. When you really get that at all levels of your being, then you revel as much in the problem as you do in the solution. Because the solution exists as the evolution marker of the question or the problem. In other words, you can't have one without the other, and both are important. When we have a gathering like this, sometimes people are appreciating the clarity of the answers that Esther interprets from our point of knowing. But we always remind you that these answers would be not forthcoming if it were not for the clarity of your questions. And you've experienced that in very real terms just in the few hours that we've been together already. Aren't you pleased with the depth of the asking that is evoking the depth and breadth of this answering? In other words, we are really all in this together, you see. So that non-physical intention that you held was came from a basis of knowing the importance of the part that you would play. So you didn't feel stuck, and you didn't feel subservient, and you didn't feel like a puppet on a string, and you didn't feel like someone broken that needed to be fixed. You came as a worthy, whole creator into an environment of enormous choices, knowing that you would synthesize those choices into joyful, expansive life, you see. Not just life for you while you're in this body, but life for all of us that stand greeting you as you come forth into that which you created. So where did it start? Did it start with the intentionality that we held before you came? Yes. Is it carried by the intentionality that you stir up along the trail? Yes. In other words, we can't separate the beginning of you from the beginning of us, and there is no ending to any of us. We can only revel and celebrate in this magical rendezvousing moments that we have day after day, hour after hour, minute after minute. Yes.
And I can imagine there's a difference between people about relationships. Some really want to know about relationships in one lifetime, and others have more intentions in work. Is that a correct assumption?
Give us more about your question.
Are some people want to have more relationships in one lifetime, or more experience or more expansion in one lifetime, and others more in work or in other areas? Is that an intention?
Well, everyone comes with a powerful intention of really mixing it up. In other words, where those factors really that's not so much a distinction of differences of energies coming in as it is a distinction of the level of allowing that the humans are doing as they are focusing. In other words, people get bound up in their guardedness, but in your alignment you are more free-flowing. In other words, anything that is limiting is always about resistance. Does that answer your question?
Not really. What I account in my life that relationships are a very important subject.
Yes.
Always.
Yes.
And it made me expand amazingly.
Yes.
And I see in other lives of other people that they are focusing more on other areas of their life.
Well, everything is about relationships. In other words, it doesn't matter if they're focused upon other areas of their life. They are still relationships.
Well, more specifically, I mean loving relationships.
Well, the specifics of your subjects, in other words, there is not as much distinction between that kind of intentionality from non-physical as might be implied by the way it's playing out. And what we were attempting to convey is that when the subject at the basis of your question, rather than being about intentionality from non-physical, is more about the degree of allowing connection while here in this physical experience. In other words, the more you open yourself to relationships with others, the more potential you find for resistance, because you tend to make what those other people who are close to you think take precedence over your own alignment. So a lot of times people shy away from those kinds of relationships because they innately sense that they are getting bogged down, where if they just understood about aligning with source, and then they could have it all, you see. That's what we meant by it's more a protective thing than anything else. You are not meant to be monogamous necessarily, but you're not meant not to be. You're not meant to find one relationship and carry it out all through your life, but you're not meant not to. In other words, the dynamics of the way you live your life really is more of a byproduct. You developed your tastes in clothes and your taste in food and your personality traits, you develop them more from what you find once you're here in this physical body than the intention that you held beyond. But once you are established in this physical body, and you are attending a forum like this, or you're sensitive to your emotion, and you begin to care powerfully, predominantly about how you feel, so you're tuning into the vibration of your source, then what begins to happen is that every relationship then begins to be seen through the lens of what is most important, and then you really begin to live life in the way that you have intended. There's not a right or a wrong way to live life. You shouldn't have big houses or small houses. You shouldn't have 10 cars or 1 car or no car. In other words, there's no right or wrong. But the majority of what seems like intentionality, you picked up along your physical trail. You've just picked it up along your physical trail. It's what you learned as you observed what was up close to you. That's why the cultures of your world remain pretty much intact, even as civilizations move through a lot of time. But there is something really remarkable and wonderful ahead of you in this physical lifetime. Something that you all are going to experience that hasn't been this profoundly experienced by any generation that has ever come before you. And that is, you're going to experience the deliciousness of putting things into their proper priority, of aligning with the whole of who you really are. And it is only when you do that that you will be able to translate accurately the intentionality that you held from non-physical existence into this physical existence. Do you see what we're getting at?
Yeah.
Once you consistently tune to who you are and allow the inspiration to begin to flow through you, then you will really understand the intentions that you held as non-physical energy. And as you find it, you will discover that in that source, core, non-physical intentionality, there is a balance on this planet that will surprise and delight the masses who then intertwine in co-creative, truly spiritual, metaphysical dance.
Great. Thank you very much.
We are at the ending of the time of this sequence, come to our dimension where there is not time, and we will talk on endlessly. We've enjoyed this interaction immensely. We have together taken thought and feeling beyond that which it has ever been before. Be easy about it. Don't let the intensity of that which we have accomplished together today put you in any place of feeling like you need to do anything different than you are. You are perfect in every way, and our appreciation for you could not be, well, it probably will be more tomorrow, but for now, it could not be more. There is great love here for you.